Welcome to zebracode.io, and we are on lesson 4 of the homework problems, and we'll be looking at this homework problem here. Write a program called coins.py that prompts the user to enter the number of quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies that the person has. The program prints the total value of the coins. So let's think about this. We're going to need 4 input statements, one representing quarters, dimes, nickels, and then pennies. We'll be solving this problem in our Python Anywhere environment, which provides a web interface into the Linux environment. So we need to open up 2 tabs. First, we're going to be using consoles and files. And in the files, we're going to create a lesson 4 folder. I'm going to go ahead and delete it here and then recreate it from scratch. And once we've created a lesson 4 folder, we're going to put within there our .py files. And in this case, we're going to call it coins.py. So I can create coins.py and just click this button here, and we create a new file called coins.py, and that brings us to our browser-based editor. Now, I recommend you use Chrome here. It works much better. I'm going to be starting with using a different browser, but later on I'll switch to Chrome. Now, the pound sign represents a comment, and a comment is code that is written basically to people or to ourselves so that we understand what the program is doing. In this case, I want the user to enter the number of quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies, and then the program is going to calculate the total value of the coins. So we're going to have 4 input statements. I'm going to create 4 variables. One of them is called Q, and Q is going to prompt the user to enter the number of quarters, and then similarly I'll use D for dimes, and in this case we're going to input the number of dimes. Now notice the prompt is all in single quotes, and the input statement is within parentheses, and we have to get the syntax exactly right. And then we have another variable called N, and that's going to represent the number of nickels that the user has. And then finally P, which is going to represent the number of pennies. Next, we create a variable called total. A total is going to represent the total value. And total is going to be equal to 25 times the integer converted Q, that's the number of quarters, turned into a integer and then multiplied by 25. So that's the value of all the quarters. Now, then I can add to that 10 times the number of dimes converted to an integer. Then I can add to that 5 times the number of nickels converted to an integer. And then finally, I'm going to take the integer value of the number of pennies that I have. And if I sum all these together, I will get the total. Remember, the variables Q, D, N, and P, they are strings. Anything coming in as an input comes in as a string value, and I need to convert it to integers in this case because I have whole numbers of quarters and dimes. Finally, I do a print statement. Print the total is, and that's going to be a string value in single quotation marks, plus I'm going to take the total value now, which is integer, and I'm going to convert it back to a string so I can concatenate it with this other string. The total is concatenated with this other string. Now, if I want to run this, I want to open up a second tab. I'm going to have 2 tabs open to Python Anywhere. One represents the files, and the other is consoles. Let's open up a console here. I'm opening up a bash console, and this is going to bring me to a web interface into the Linux bash console, and I have the $, which is my prompt. I can do an ls. Now I can work my way to the file that we've just created. I'm going to cd into the homework folder and then cd within lessons 4. And if I do ls, a list here, I see have coins.py, and I can do Python 3 coins.py, and this is going to execute that code that we just ran, or code we just wrote. And the first thing, we get a prompt, enter the number of quarters, and I'm going to enter 1, enter the number of dimes, I'm going to enter 0, enter the number of nickels, and I'm going to enter 0, enter the number of pennies, and I have 1, and I have 1 quarter and 1 penny, and the total is 25, or 26, excuse me. So I'm going to run this again. I can use the up arrow to run my most recent command at the command line, and I get the number of quarters is 1, number of dimes is 1, number of nickels is 1, number of pennies is 1, and I get a total of 41. So that works to what I expect. And let's do one other simple edit to this program. Now we have the total is, that's a string, and it's concatenated with the total value, which is converted to a string using the str function. And now I'm going to concatenate it with number of cents here. And so this is going to put cents at the very bottom. So I'm going to run the program again. At my command line, I get number of quarters is 1, number of dimes is 1, number of nickels is 1, number of pennies is 1, and I get the total is 41 cents. So that's a quick introduction into the homework assignments. Look at the other homework assignments at zebracode.io. Get plenty of practice, and we're going to also look at some debugging strategies as additional resources in this lesson 4.